There is a lot of professional football to talk about. Andrew Hawkins will be here shortly to sit in with us. But just one more note from college football, because Gus Johnson was broadcasting one of the games this week, and I feel like everyone loves Gus Johnson. He struggled a little bit, like there was a fake punt and he didn't see it right away, so he didn't go grab the emotion. There were a couple of things he didn't see right away. But he did refer to one of the players in the game that he was announcing as Tommy Two Thumbs, because he played last season with two broken thumbs.
Right. I love that.
That can't be ezy to do, to play football, right? I mean,
well, what position?
Exactly.
I think
guard?
If he's guard, that's
he's a
tough.
kicker, it's fine. Yeah.
Well, not quarterback. That would be harder.
The visual
to do.
of a kicker with two thumb casts,
that'd be great.
like it's Rodrigo Blankenship, and he's just
Kicking
got
with jazz hands.
There were a number of interesting things from professional football yesterday. The San Francisco 49ers are overwhelming. You can laugh at the Dallas Cowboys all you want, but that's a close to elite defense, and the 49ers are just shredding everybody. They're making it look very easy. And this that I'm about to say can't be talked about enough. If you're trying to teach the Swifties about what Jason Kelsey does, if you're just trying to teach somebody who's new to football, and you're like, you think Travis is strong? Jason has a play that cannot be stopped. Everyone in the league has trouble in goal line situations, getting a yard and a half or two. And what Philadelphia does is the only unstoppable play in the sport. You can fear Tyreek Hill. You can fear any number of things in the sport. But a team that in short yardage situations just bulldozes Aaron Donald can't do anything against. That team has a cheat code that allows it to continue drives so that they can wear you out with that offensive line. That offensive line is the strongest unit of any kind at any position. I'm including wide receivers for the Dolphins. There is no stronger unit anywhere, not San Francisco's defense, not Kansas City's offense, that is stronger than Philadelphia's offensive line. What they do to make the game easier for Jalen Hurts. It's an insanity, Stugotz, that in a sport where we all know these are incredibly strong human beings, they're the strongest. They're physically stronger than everyone. You saw Micah Parsons isn't himself. Why? Well, Trent Williams is kind of amazing.
Right.
And you can't put anyone on Trent Williams and expect to get to the quarterback. The Eagles have 5 dudes, and one of them was a sub playing yesterday. They have 5 dudes that make the game so much easier because you're just in third and short the entire time, and you have no chance of stopping them. And if by some miracle you stop them on third and short, they're just going to do it again on fourth and short. I think the play has been stopped one time in 2 years, and I'd love to meet the people who did it and do a comprehensive oral history
How'd you do it?
documentary
the
of
New Zealand All Blacks and
What'd
World
you
Rugby
do?
Club.
How did you do this?
Who did do it? Do we know?
And they must have fumbled the snap.
Right. I could tell you, right, like we can all agree the NFC Championship game, barring a Lions upset, is going to be the Niners and the Eagles, right?
Well,
that's done.
Last year, I believe the Niners would have been in the Super Bowl if they had a quarterback for a playoff game that they needed him for against Philadelphia. Not enough is talked about how San Francisco's season ended last year and a reign of dominance that's been pretty strong over the last couple of years, because the way they're scoring is really unusual in the sports, you guys. I think they're one of 4 or 5 teams ever to start the season with 30-plus points in every game, and all of those teams have made the Super Bowl. But last year, they were down to going to their bench and being like, Christian McCaffrey, can you play quarterback for us? We don't have a quarterback anymore.
Right.
Everybody is injured, and that's where their season got derailed. The thing, though, that I think can't be talked about enough today.
They had to go to Josh Johnson.
That's who ended up being their quarterback. Brock Purdy for 4 passes in that game. Josh Johnson, 7 of 13, and 1 pass from Christian McCaffrey.
Yeah, they yanked him. We're like, Chris, can you play? No? Okay. All right.
Purdy's incredible, huh?
Yeah, we were talking about this last week. His father, I went to school with his father. Sean
Really?
Purdy, yes, was a baseball pitcher at the University of Miami. You didn't know this? I
Breaking news.
I
No, I had no idea.
Oh, come
Thank
on.
you. Well, I mean,
That's a
Should've said that
lame.
last
That's
year,
a
Dan.
lame look at me, Louis. I did say it last year. That's why I was surprised by everybody's reaction in there. Yeah, him and Jim Favola would make like pork chops at midnight. Very deeply unhealthy. I think he was roommates with Favola.
what?
Yes, I believe so. I believe I have all of that right.
Should we get Brock's dad on the show? Or
I don't know.
Why
I can already
not?
see the God bless football wheels turning.
Billy, get him.
Pretty good or pretty bad?
Yes.
He is.
great idea
He
by
is indisputably good. I read reports that he's still sharing rent. Does he still drive a Prius?
I mean, he lives in the Bay Area at $800,000 salaries before taxes. You got to.
So he's got a roommate? He's got
Yeah.
a roommate. This is why you can afford Dabo and McCaffrey, because you've got a quarterback who's sharing rent with
Debo.
somebody. I'm sorry, Debo.
Yeah,
My
Dabo
bad.
playing wide receiver is a totally different look. Although there is that video of him running fast downhill.
That is a fine there. I do get fined for that.
Yeah.
I don't think that you can talk enough, though, about what is presently happening, Stugotz, to the legacy of the best to ever do it in football coaching. Bill Belichick, 20 years atop the AFC East, is now coming off consecutive back-to-back losses that are the worst of his career. And he's got no fix. There is no fix coming for the Patriots. They got slaughtered at home by a Saints team that can't move the football, 34-0. Mac Jones, Stugotz, has nothing.
Nothing, Dan. They have lost the last two games 72-3, a combined 72-3.
They're the worst losses of his career, back to back.
Yesterday was the first time a Bill Belichick coached team trailed by 30 points at home. Ever.
They were being booed.
Yes.
And that fan base is going to be spoiled and entitled because of what Bill Belichick built for them. They will become an afterthought, but I do wonder, the people listening to this, what do you do? We all know he's good at what he does. Like, we all know
Do we?
that
I'm just saying, Dan, his record's under 500 without Tom Brady. Like, isn't this the shining example of, even if you're a good head coach, perceived to be a good head coach, you're only as good as your quarterback? I mean, that's it. Andy Reid was the guy who couldn't win the big game until he started winning the big games with Patrick Mahomes.
Okay, but I would ask you, because you love to separate blame charts and credit pies and everything else, like, do you not give the coach any credit for the development of that quarterback, of both of those quarterbacks? Because it seems like you think Tom Brady would have come into the league and been that with any quarterback, with Cam Cameron. Like, you have... When you do this...
But if you get the credit for being able to develop Tom Brady, then that would suggest you could do it with any quarterback, no? Tom Brady was any quarterback. Mac Jones was a first-round pick.
I think that the evaluation of that position is terrible by all of us, including coaches, and I don't think you can separate Tom Brady's success from Bill Belichick's, where Tom Brady was in his career at the time and what he needed in terms of support. Do you realize I can make the argument when they're putting up the Dolphins stats on the offense and they're showing you teams that have ever started this way through 5 games. The only Patriots offense they can put up there is the one with Randy Moss, which was the only time that Bill Belichick got him skill help at the wide receiver position and what he was that season. Go look at Tom Brady's Pro Football Reference page so that you can see the difference in that season compared to every other season when he got him a single skill position player. Obviously, it was Randy Moss, one of the best ever, but the development of quarterbacks is something that Andy Reid has consistently done for every quarterback and Belichick has done for one quarterback.
The year he had Moss, he threw for 50 touchdowns and 8 interceptions.
But also look at his passer rating. Like, look, his career passer rating is like in the 80s, and then that season it's in the 120s or something absurd.
117.2.
Is it unfair to tie him to Brady and say, look how good he is or how not good he is without Tom Brady? It's just really when you give him a bad quarterback, look at the team. Like, he made the playoffs Mac Jones' rookie season. And since his rookie season, he's regressed. not the first young quarterback to come to the league and regress after the NFL knows what to do with you. It's a terrible quarterback situation that they have right there. You can be a great coach. You can navigate a terrible quarterback situation.
Only Tomlin can. Tomlin's the only one ever.
You're right.
From the top down, though, like draft-wise, coordinator-wise, they've just failed since Tom Brady left across the board.
Yeah, that's another thing. You want to give Belichick the credit for developing Tom Brady. Entered the league, even though we all know that he's a good offensive mind as a defensive guy. Charlie Weiss, Josh McDaniels, Bill O'Brien. There's a lot of these king-making coaches that were made by being around Tom Brady that have proven to not be very good on their own.
A helpful listener has sent in this statistic. Mac Jones yesterday threw his 4th pick 6 at Gillette Stadium. That's as many as Tom Brady threw his entire career at Gillette Stadium. We are happy to have Andrew Hawkins in with us. He studies film all day Saturday so he can be more informed, so that his takes can be stronger. You can hear the enthusiasm in his voice on Tomahawk, the podcast he now does with Hall of Famer Joe Thomas during the football season. You sound like you were thrilled to have him back in your life. That Joe Thomas waddling in 100 pounds lighter than
Who
back,
wouldn't be, Dan?
back when he was a
Joe's
player,
not waddling
that
anymore.
You're just happy to have him around the things you're doing these days.
I am. That's my guy. We got good chemistry. We went through a lot of like tough shit together, and when you do that, it forms a bond, right? And you're just happy not to be in those scenarios anymore.
1 win in 2 seasons.
1 win in 2 seasons. It hurts.
That hurts. That physically hurts to play that way.
It hurts.
It's as bad. It's bad enough to physically feel the way you guys do on Monday, but to keep going into the locker room week 14, week 15 when you're winless, it makes it hurt even more.
That makes it the worst part. Is like, because you got to still trick yourself every week into thinking you're going to win. And after a while, it's like, oh, this is getting tough, brother.
Were you able to trick yourself every season? Or
One time against the Chargers.
Hawk, it had to
We
stop
beat
at
the
some
Chargers.
point. Yeah, but it had to stop at some point.
It did. You go into the games, and that was like, again, kind of the moment where it was like, this might be towards the end. Because I started going into the games, I would look across the 50-yard line at their team, and then I would look at our team, and I would say, yeah, there's no way we can win.
That doesn't seem possible in the pros. That doesn't seem like a thing that would ever happen in professional football. Do you think the Giants feel that way yesterday? Do you think the Giants go into that game against the Dolphins? We were talking before we turned the microphones on about who has a better single unit than Philadelphia's offensive line, and you said the Dolphins receivers might be better than Philadelphia's offensive line. Do the Giants go into that game yesterday, or does Carolina go into that game yesterday and we've got no chance? We're not going to be able to score with them. We're going to lose.
No, that's a muscle that has developed over time. You have to be there. So maybe some guys are really like the seasoned guys who have been there and they've seen this movie a few times. You start to diagnose like, well, this is here, and this is here. And when that happens, this is the result. That's why coaches try to keep the locker rooms young, fresh. After a while, you got to get out because now you know the same speech that I'm going to tell when this happens. And so, yeah, that's a veteran thought process.
What are you seeing from the 49ers? Is there anything that is jumping out to you in the film that you're watching?
They are extremely talented, obviously. But more than that, they are extremely well coached. They are coached better than most of the teams, if not every team, in the National Football League. And when you watch them against the Cowboys, yes, the players play great. Brock Purdy is at an MVP level, right? This is Mr. Irrelevant. But at the same time, when you watch the way those plays are hitting, when you see that George Kittle over the middle, and it's like, oh, those are good plays. When you look at the film, you're watching how they're using pre-snap motion because they know exactly what the Cowboys are going to do. They know how their players will respond, and the answers to the test are already embedded in the play. So Brock Purdy isn't having to do much. He's not having to read much. He's processing, and he's going right where they've told him because it's set up perfectly.
It's interesting because they're coached so well that people are saying if Mac Jones were on the San Francisco 49ers, that he'd be doing what Brock Purdy is doing currently with the 49ers. Do you agree with that? Because I don't.
I disagree.
Okay.
I disagree because I think, yes, Brock Purdy is in an advantageous situation. And I always say this about the Shanahan offense. It makes bad quarterbacks look decent quarterbacks look good quarterbacks look great, and great quarterbacks MVP level caliber players. So wherever you want to put Brock Purdy into that matrix, he is that. He has a bunch of ability. Like I said, he is a next level processor. He can make a lot of the throws, and more importantly, he anticipates where the ball should go. Mac Jones, if you're looking from his rookie year to now, he has regressed in those areas. And some of it is coaching, yes. Some of it is talent on the outside, absolutely. But when I watched the Jets game against the Patriots, and everybody that week was railing on Zach Wilson. This guy is so bad. He shouldn't be in the NFL. He shouldn't do this. It was a wet game, yes, but when I watched it, and I watched both sides of the game, with the exception of a lucky pass that the Jets secondary busted on, I said Mac Jones played no better than Zach Wilson. Why? There were at least 3, maybe 4 passes where receivers had guys beat down the field, and he did not put the ball where it needed to be. And those are big plays that if you are a starting NFL caliber quarterback, you cannot miss one, let alone 3 of them. So that means he cannot push the ball down the field. And if you can't push the ball down the field, you cannot play in Shanahan's offense.
I saw a stat before the Dolphin game. The Dolphin inside linebackers before the game had 28 passes thrown in their direction as targets, and they'd been completed 27 times for 300-something yards. The point that you just made about the 49ers was illustrated last night when they put Debo in motion, and you saw as soon as he goes in motion, that's Debo Samuel against a linebacker. That is an easy throw. Whatever direction Debo decides to go in, the linebacker, there's not a linebacker in the league. Nope. Maybe it's on his team. Maybe on his team.
Warner.
Maybe the one on his team can cover that, but there's not another linebacker who can cover Debo Samuel in the open field there. That makes for an easy throw for any competent quarterback.
That's what good quarterbacks know. They know their matchups. Yes, there is the X's and O's portion of it, but at some point, and at a lot of points in the game, especially when you're in a Shanahan game plan, I'm going to match up this good player versus a player that I don't think can beat him, and we're going to win every time because his skill set is perfectly matched against the things that you're not good at. And even more than that, when these players are motioning, you'll watch the defenders shift, and it's literally creating the vacancy that they're going to hit. So I'm only sending this for that linebacker to take 2 steps over and then keep his eyes that way, and I'm going to throw right off his ear. And Brock Purdy is throwing those passes at an incredibly high, accurate clip with anticipation. He knows where it needs to be. His ball placement is impeccable, and Mac Jones just isn't playing like that. Even on the plays that are there, he's not executing them. And that's why I will not say that if Mac Jones is in Brock Purdy's situation, he will be that, because he won't be.
What innovative new things has Kyle Shanahan picked up on since you were with Kyle Shanahan over in Cleveland? Because I always get a little bit of a chuckle when people say guys like Mike McDaniel and Kyle Shanahan, they're these innovators, when the bones of the offense have been around for 40 years.
Yeah.
The Shanahan offense was just that ahead of the time several decades ago. What is he doing that's new that you're putting on the tape and you're like, well, this is a new look for Kyle? That we weren't doing much of that in Cleveland.
Because I think, and it's hard to pinpoint one thing, because what Kyle does is he bases his offense off of the players that he has. So, yes, when he had me as his leading receiver, which is not a great scenario to be in. I'm self-aware enough to know if your number one receiver is 5'7", there is going to be limitations, right?
Unless you're the Dolphins.
Unless you're the Dolphins. But I can get into that, too, of why that makes sense now. But even in that scenario, he set it up to play towards my strengths, and that offense looked completely different than the offense he was in the year before or the offense that he called the year after in Atlanta, because the personnel is always different, right? And so when they call him an innovator, when they call McDaniel an innovator, it's not because they're taking their offense and saying, you're going to run this exactly the way it is now. No, they're saying, okay, here's the 60% that never changes, and here's how we change the 40% every year based on the 53 guys we have in there. And so that's what makes those offenses super special, is because it's not going to look the same as it was the year before.
I want to play for you, and I will in a second, some RG3 sound from last week that that jumps off of that point. But before I do that, I wanted to talk to Stugotz about how he felt about the ridiculous Nathaniel Hackett game, which is not something that I was expecting. There were interesting games in that 4 o'clock window yesterday. The only interesting thing about the Denver Jets game was the offseason of Payton saying that the Denver Broncos were coached more poorly than any team he's ever seen before he inherited them. That led to Aaron Rodgers protecting Nathaniel Hackett, his offensive coordinator with the Jets, and saying, keep my coach's name out of your mouth. And then yesterday after the game, lip readers saw that Salah, when he's saying good game to Sean Payton, tells him stay humble, which might be something might be something he says all the time to coaches, but this one landed differently, telling Sean Payton to stay humble. If I'm Sean Payton in that spot, it's about the last thing I want to hear from the opposing coach. But you're
going to hear it because you said stuff on the front end about Nathaniel Hackett. So you're going to hear it.
Not after you beat somebody like that. I understand. Like, you don't need to say.
They beat him, Dan.
But you don't need to say anything else. The scoreboard does enough for you there.
I like it. I'm not going to lie to you, Dan. I like it. If you want to talk, if you're going to be a Bear, be a Grizzly, right? And maybe he wouldn't say that if you weren't the one to come out. And, also – coordinators and players, they want coaches that have their back in some respects. And yeah, Sean Payton, I didn't mind Sean Payton's comments either, to be honest with you.
I don't mind any of them. It's good for me. I just don't think that I would like it very much if I were Sean Payton.
The Sean Payton that knows the current quarterback is not going to be his quarterback a year from now is my favorite Sean Payton. Like, it's the Russell Wilson. Speaking of things you didn't need to hear, Russell did not need to hear from Sean Payton as he left the field after turning the ball over. Just didn't need to hear it, and Payton gave him the business anyway. It was great.
When the chips are down, it's funny to watch every time that the teams, the coaches, the players, everyone starts to point the finger, right? Because someone has to take blame for this. And Sean Payton coming out saying how horribly coached the Broncos were, right? It does set up the Natty Hackett Bowl.
Yes.
And again, they were horribly coached. It was really bad. That's a fact of the matter, but you just don't typically hear that from one coach to another. The reason why I don't mind it is because history has a way of remembering players and coaches fondly who call their shot, right? And because it's high risk. If he says that, now he has the Broncos clicking on all cylinders, and he goes out there and he kicks the Jets' butt. Everyone's talking about Sean Payton like, oh, man, they should have gave up more picks. You talk about an incredible move. That's not the case. And
That's
instead,
not what it looks like
we're like,
right
you
now.
know what? Looks like the game is passing you by, buddy.
But, Dan, I was thrilled with the victory. A, we needed it, so we're 2-3. We're in the mix. And B, the defense played really well. But most importantly, because I said this last year when he went down, when Breece Hall got injured last year, that was the end of the Jets season. And to see Breece Hall without a pitch count, he could carry the ball as many times as they wanted him to carry the ball yesterday, have 22 carries, 177 yards, and a touchdown. Like, they're a different team when that guy is healthy.
And Zach Wilson looks competent, and that had to be really unpleasant for him to go through. The whatever that felt like to him.
What, Joe Namath kicking him out of the NFL? He should be ashamed of himself.
Damian Woody, famous Jets.
Mike Greenberg.
Putting their name, Jets fans putting their name on, please don't allow Zach Wilson, never mind into my huddle, into my stadium anymore.
But to Sue's point, Breece Hall makes that all so much easier. It was in that game last year where he was killing it that he got hurt against Denver. It makes it a lot easier for a young quarterback.
It does, absolutely. And the coaching, and I will also say Nathaniel Hackett has played a better game in the last 2 weeks as well, right? Because you don't have Aaron Rodgers. And it is the easiest coaching job in the world to put Aaron Rodgers out there and say, hey, go figure it out. You can literally throw any play. Stugotz will be a head coach in 2 years if he was hired as the offensive coordinator for Aaron Rodgers.
I've got a serious question for you off of the UM game. If you took the people in this room, all of us,
I'm evaluating.
You put us in the University of Miami offense with 40 seconds left in that game on Saturday. How many times do we play that game and end up with that result when all we have to do is kneel one time to finish the football game? If we put all of us in uniform, give me a number.
How many games?
The number of games that we would have to play.
Mario is still the coach, though, right?
Everything is the same, but except they are calling timeout. They're kneeling. They're kneeling one time.
Okay. On offense, so the defense is still the same. You guys aren't playing defense.
No, we're on offense for the University of Miami, and all we have to do is take a snap. And we're just complimentary players. We are not the center nor the quarterback.
Okay.
How many times
You're
are we
good.
playing that game before we get the result that the University of Miami got on
I would say
Saturday?
you would win 98 times out of 100.
Because I'm going to say 2 million times.
2 million? Well, I just figured one of the plays, like Stugotz at guard.
We're not the center. We're not the center or the quarterback. So we're not screwing up the snap.
No, we're not doing.
But like one of those times.
No, I'm the running back that wants to get to 100 yards.
Okay, whoever. I'm just picturing Stugotz at guard, and the D-line just blows him up before the quarterback gets his knee down. He fumbles. They pick it up and take it. So I'm like, at least twice that's going to happen.
We're putting Stugotz in motion.
Okay. All right.
I urge you to go find Tomahawk. Andrew Hawkins does an exceptional job there, and his good friend Joe Thomas, the Hall of Famer, is back now to provide him the loving support that Andrew Hawkins loves in his bosom, just to spend time there protected, as Joe Thomas is the ultimate protector. This is from That's Good Sports. 5 weeks into the season, Denver has lost to their former number 1 head coach Josh McDaniels, number 2 defensive coordinator Jack Del Rio, number 3 head coach Vic Fangio, number 4 ball boy Mike McDaniel, number 5 former head coach Nathaniel Hackett. This after Walmart paid $4.5 billion for the team, has more than $200 million guaranteed in Russell Wilson and $100 million guaranteed in Sean Payton. When Stugotz says that Sean Payton is lighting up Russell Wilson because at the end of that game, they need a game-winning drive, and good God, Stugotz, we watched 10 years of Seattle football where you knew at the end of the game, no matter who they were playing, the Seattle Seahawks were going to be throwing into your end zone at the end of the game for the game because Russell Wilson was a terror late in games. You were terrified of everything related to Russell Wilson. For him to cough up that football and it to just go running, was it right past Sean Payton on the sidelines?
Yeah. Right near Sean Payton.
Like, it was right in front of the Denver sideline. What are they going to do about their situation? Because it would seem that they are proper bleeped there. It's not like any of that's going to get fixed. They're talking about Denver's going to trade everyone. Surtan's going to be worth something to somebody. Somebody's going to give up a first-round pick for Surtan because of the corner that he is. How do you fix what's happening in Denver?
I don't know how you fix it, and I think this is the thing that puts franchises in turmoil. Because honestly, Russell Wilson isn't playing that bad. I want to put that on record, right? There are plays, there are moments. Obviously, you don't want to fumble late in the game for it to turn into a W for the other team.
He's on pace for like 40 touchdowns and 8 interceptions.
He's not playing bad.
Sean
right?
Payton is, to a degree, doing what he was brought there to do, which was rescue Russell. Russell's not helping them win, but he's not the reason that they're losing quite like last year.
I agree, and I think it is a cop-out to start to point, we got to trade everyone. You start those murmurs. They're being out-coached, and that should be the conversation. Anytime somebody puts 70 points against you, it does not matter who you have out there as a player. This is the NFL. I've played for some very bad teams. We know that. We've addressed that. We've talked about that at length.
We address it too many times.
Every time I'm on here, it's the first thing that comes up.
Sorry.
And even still, nowhere near close to losing by 50 points and having 70 points put up against us because there is parity. We're all on scholarship in the NFL. There is a level of just ability that even the worst teams have. So when you lose by that many and you get 70 put on you in this day and age, that is 100% coaching. So yes, go look at the film and go say all those things. But the number one place you need to be looking is in the mirror and at your coaching staff and say, how do we allow ourselves to get that embarrassed because we got out-coached in every phase of the game? And so how do you fix it? You either get your coaching staff right, you get yourself back on the same page, and you prove that the NFL football game has not passed you by because it looks like it is moving a lot faster and at a pace that Sean Payton can't keep up with.
Do you think that any of the second-tier teams that are 4-1, I think there are only 3 4-1 teams. I think it's Kansas City, Miami, and Detroit. Do you believe that any of those teams are as good as the 2 5-0 teams, Philadelphia and San Francisco?
Yes, I do. I'm the Dolphins and the Chiefs, I think, are extremely talented. And obviously, we see who the Chiefs have at the helm. Besides Andy Reid, right? They have the coaching, they have the players. The best teams have those two aspects. As the season goes on, there'll be some with records. There'll be some that, they show this, they show that. Cowboys got out-coached tremendously on Monday Night Football, right? I don't think that happens ever with the Chiefs, besides the fact who they have at the quarterback position. And so I think those teams are still in real contention to be in the Super Bowl.
I want to play for you some sound of Tyreek Hill talking about Dolphin speed, because I think now the Dolphins have the top 8 times, Stugotz, of human beings running in the NFL with the ball close to 22 miles an hour. And Tyreek Hill mentioned a name that is not one of their fastest players, according to the 8 fastest times in the NFL this year. You'll imagine my surprise when Tyreek Hill, you got to wait till the end of this clip, unveils something that I did not consider.
I'll never say that. Why would I say that?
He's got the fastest time, fastest clock time right now.
What is it?
I don't remember what it is.
His is 21 point what? And mine is 20. And mine is 22 point what?
Okay.
There you go. Now we talking.
Wait a minute. But I thought last week
men lie, women lie, but numbers don't lie, don't they? I'm just saying though. You feel me? I've been doing this since what? 2016, baby. I'm the cheater. You feel me? I'm the fastest in the game, and I'm the fastest in real life too, though. Like I don't be talking excuse my language. I don't be talking but you feel me? Like I never let nobody take that crown from me. Like I'm gonna hold on to that forever. So Devon 18, he fast, but I'm 998 fast. You feel me? I'm triple crown high school fast. You feel me? I'm junior Olympic fast. You feel me? I'm Mr. Let me stop. Let me keep going on. Nah, but Devon fast though. He definitely, I would say he's like the 3rd fastest on this team though. We got another kid on practice squad that's pretty fast. Ethan Bonner, white kid, fast. Rolling.
Ethan Bonner.
He ran 22 and camp had me like, okay, this dude, okay. I may not call him out in the race.
I'm stunned by that. I'm stunned by that. He's never afraid to run anybody. He's never afraid to run against anybody. He's always saying, I'll beat DK Metcalf in a race. There's a guy on their practice squad, a white guy, who he's saying, I don't want to call him out in a race.
Hey, he must got the juice, man.
There ain't a lot of times.
It's a white corner.
It's a white corner.
I
didn't want to say it. I didn't want to say I broke the Riley Moss news here.
It's a white corner from Stanford.
Corner from Stanford. Trust me, he's gonna be great in the venture capital game one day. But right now, he's got blazing speed, baby.
How is that something that is happening in the NFL right now that Tyreek Hill, and it's been happening for 5 years. How many times in your career have you been watching football and been like, this person is faster than everyone else playing?
It's tough. I haven't seen it a lot, but it is very clear to your point about Tyreek. Like Chris Johnson was like that. I'm trying to think who else. Obviously, Randy Moss was like that. There was even some moments where it felt like Percy Harvin before, the injuries. Like he just felt like they were moving at a different speed. And the reason why they feel that way is because they are, right? And not only that, there's a lot of fast people in the NFL, but a lot of the NFL is more cerebral than people realize. The beauty about what McDaniel does and Shanahan, if you watch their tape as a whole, offensive line to running backs to receivers to defense, especially on the offensive side of the ball, they are running faster than everyone else because there's not as much thinking. And they understand, like anybody, it's human nature. The more you're thinking, the slower you're moving. There is no thought process to them. They set up their offense purposely that way, so you get really fast guys who can be really fast all the time. And again, it is just shocking defenses.
Devin Hester had some of that, even though he wasn't actually faster than everybody.
Yeah, he played
looked,
fast.
He looked like it, but he wasn't 4.3 40 fast. Let's play for Hawk the sound of RG3 on with us last week, talking about how all those great coaches failed him.
Most people would look at the surface. You had a wonderful rookie season, and the coaches that you had in Washington, they revisit every time they're on primetime football. Look at this staff. It's an all-star staff of coaches. And while Andy Reid certainly has this great reputation, Kyle Shanahan is now looked at as one of those guys, and he was with you in Washington. And when you talk about cohesiveness throughout the organization, what was the single biggest impediment to you in Washington from that amazing rookie year and all that promise to where things turned for you? Because a lot has been written about it, and I haven't heard so much from you. So what was it?
Yeah, I mean, I think your point is kind of going back to that graphic of all the coaches that were in Washington that are now head coaches and doing extremely well. You talk about Kyle Shanahan, you're talking about Sean McVay, Mike McDaniel, Matt LaFleur. And, even Bobby Slowick, who's the coordinator for the Texans right now, it's one of those situations where in life, certain things just weren't meant to be. So although all those coaches have gone on to become head coaches and are doing really good in the league or great in the league right now, at that time, they just weren't ready for that. And I do think it was because of the structure of the organization from the top down, how they did business. And what I didn't know going into Washington was that there was a rift between the owner and the head coach. I didn't know that. Listen, man, I was a 22-year-old kid coming in there, having all my dreams come to a reality, being able to play quarterback in the NFL, playing with some of my favorite players ever when Santana Moss, talking about Chris Cooley, Trent Williams, our left tackle, London Fletcher was our middle linebacker. It's like I was living the dream and didn't understand that the NFL, at that time, I didn't understand the NFL is purely a business.
What are your thoughts there, Hawk?
Yeah, the NFL is a business, absolutely. Now, I wasn't in Washington, and I don't know exactly what the scenario called for, but I would say those coaches are pretty successful. And RG3 was pretty successful under their tutelage. And so I don't know where the rift. I've heard rumors like everyone else. I've played with RG3. He is a competitor. He wants to be the guy. He wants to sit back there like Peyton Manning and dice it up like every quarterback has grown up and dreamed about.
They weren't ready for him is what he said.
I don't know if they weren't ready for him. Maybe they turned the corner.
They seemed ready for him his rookie year.
That would be, that would be my assessment. And again, I think more than anything, in a Shanahan offense, a quarterback has to be okay with giving up some of the accolades, giving up some of the credit, I would say, giving up some of the autonomy to do what you want, because that is not how the offense goes. And for a young stallion like RG3, this is me outside looking in, just to be very clear. I was not there. I do not know. But it looked like with that success, it was, hey, I want to be more the guy. Look at what I've done. I think I should be doing this. And that is not how Kyle Shanahan runs his ship.
Ship,
yes.
Yep.
Ship.
It's also probably why Brock Purdy is perfectly aligned with
It's a good
Kyle Shanahan.
If Brock Purdy eventually he starts to feel like, I want to do a little bit more, I can promise you he will not be the 49ers quarterback. That is not how the offense goes. It's as simple as that.
Do what you're told.
That's
Tomahawk with Hall of Famer Joe Thomas and Andrew Hawkins. Find it wherever it is you get your podcast.
It's on our Le Batard and Friends and also on DraftKings Network. Yep. It airs at 4 o'clock on Wednesdays.
Thank you, sir. What was that sound?
It was a cosign.
Just hammered it home. That's all. Yeah.